Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, just like the Wasi says. Welcome to the channel. My name is Atrocious Jake. I've got here for you the Aichi Championships, the final tournament of OP09, the final major that we have on the schedule before OP10 becomes legal for tournaments and the future Tokyo Championships. My name is Jake. I'm excited to have you all here with me. It's going to be a cool one, right? In the Hyogo Championships last weekend, we saw just about 8 or so decks consisting of the top 16 in the tournament. And how does the meta bounce back from that in the Aichi Championships to close out the format? It's going to be an interesting one. Heard some cool things about this tournament. I don't know anything about it yet, so let's just get into it and talk about the top cut meta share. Oh my goodness, this is not what I expected in a top 16, to be honest. So if you can see in this top 16, even if you can't read Japanese, right? I mentioned that there were 8 decks in the last tournament. Now we've condensed it down to 3, right? Only 3 archetypes within this tournament. Doflamingo being the most popular with 11. I believe that this is Doflamingo's first appearance in the top 16 with double-digit entries, right? We've seen decks in the past, Trafalgar Law, Sakazuki, really dominate with double-digit entries, but we haven't seen any deck break into that mold in OP09, and Doflamingo is doing it for the first time in this one. The other 5 decks within this top 16, though, 3 of them being Rob Lucci, right? Not super surprising. It's one of the best counters to Doflamingo. And also 2 Shanks within this. So Shanks, I think Shanks has had multiple tournaments where they've had 2 entries, but Shanks in this tournament has yet to go super far. And honestly, I feel like in a lot of our videos on the channel, Shanks has not done super well in the stream matches, the feature matches of the tournament. So my hope is that we see a good Shanks run in this tournament. I've wanted to see a good Shanks run in these championships, really see a high skill level player pilot the deck. But well, actually, you already know the matchup. I'm the only one here that doesn't know the matchup. But before we get into the actual game, I just want to say a couple quick things. First of all, I am watching the official live stream. I am not the official live stream at all, but if you want to go watch it, you can go check it out in the description below. I'm just doing unofficial English commentary to help, you know, boost my commentary skills. Also, I'm going to be running a giveaway for a Dueling Guard playmat. One of our sponsors, Dueling Guard, has sent me 9 different playmats. A picture of it is on screen here of all the different playmats, and somebody that gets picked is going to be able to choose whatever playmat they want. I'll ship worldwide, all that jazz in a bag of chips. I will include the instructions on how to enter in the comments below. Don't worry, I'll make it very easy. And yes, again, you'll get to choose which playmat you want. All right, enough of the business. Let's go in and see what our 2 players have. We're going to watch the Shanks. Very exciting. Definitely one of the decks out of the 3 within the top cut that we've seen the least on this channel. The new deck that came in OP09, or one of the new decks that came in OP09. Gonna be really cool to see what this deck is built around, right? We've seen a couple different versions of the deck, especially within the last couple weeks, of people building it with stuff like Red Hawk, right, being a premier card within this deck from OP01. If you saw my video the other day on the Market Watch, we talked about that card, but so many good things within this deck, especially in the red-haired pirates package. And so what is the Shanks going to play against? It's going to be really interesting. I mean, I would say that the Shanks has a really good shot to play Doflamingo, but Rob Lucci, the Rob Lucci is the deck that we're going to be seeing in this tournament. Another interesting deck that's kind of morphed around a couple different things. I know a couple people in my comments in the last couple tournaments have said, is Rob Lucci bad now? Because Rob Lucci hasn't really appeared within the top 16 lately, but do not worry, Rob Lucci, Rob 16. Rob Lucci still a good deck within this format. Rob Lucci, also one of those decks that has a couple different options in building, maybe not as aggressive as something like Shanks, but in something of its tech cards, right? Some of the tech cards that we see, like 9 cost Kaido, some of the amounts of those have boded well for strategies within this meta and maybe helped them get in their way to this top 16 spot. We're going to see who goes first here soon. I will let you know as soon as we see the table. It looks like the Rob Lucci player is going first. You can tell who goes first by the little marker right here. The marker basically translates to going first. Actually, I'm sorry. No, the Shanks player is going first here. I forgot the orientation of the table. If it's on this square, it's the Shanks player going first in this one. That's my mistake. I am not in Japan, unfortunately. Both players putting out their life, keeping the hands. We'll see exactly what those hands are. And the Shanks player going first. Wow, this does not look good for the Shanks player. Very interesting. You have 2 Silvers Rayleigh, 1 Ace, 1 Dragon, and 1 Ben Beckman. So you have lots of big bodies right here, a bit of non-counter as well, but nothing in the beginning turns to accelerate your game plan, or maybe like no 2K counter. Usually a lot of times that Shanks just plays bodies like 5 and above, but, you know, no Red Hawks for the early game, no guard points, or, you know, radical beams, or 2K Otamas, lime juices, things like that. Could be interesting in this game. And don't worry, we will also show deck lists at the end of the video for both players. The player on the Rob Lucci side, though, has some big bodies of their own within the Gecko Moria and the Kaido. Also has a pair of those 5-drop Kakus. Kaku, as I've mentioned in previous videos, has been making a resurgence in 09 format inside Rob Lucci. So if you didn't watch my market video from way back when I mentioned the Kaku, not the most recent one, but the one before that, I've been on the Kaku train for a long time. Might want to get your alternate Kakus, and then rounding it out with a Brook as well. So going into this match now, we'll see, at least on the odd curve, right? Shanks will be able to play that Ace on curve, and that Ace having that protection ability, right, will prevent the Rob Lucci from just going in and popping it right away, which is really nice. You pull a 5-drop Marco, so very interesting. Shanks playing this Marco. This is something that we haven't really seen in the Shanks decks. Popping a 3,000 power or less character works really well a lot of times when you have your leader effect, right, and other different power minusing variations within the archetype. Swinging 7 and taking the life, leaving 1 up, maybe feigning a rad beam or guard point. The Rob Lucci is going to first start out using leader effect, swinging 6, and has 3 Dawn left to play a potential Brook or something of the sort. So taking this 6, we'll see if he takes this swing, is going to go ahead, does the leader effect. If you're wondering how Shanks countered out of that one with only 1K counter, right? Ben Beckman only having 1K counter on it. Shanks' leader effect minuses 1,000 one of your opponent's leaders or characters on an attack. So using that to put Rob Lucci back to 5,000 power, and then using Ben Beckman to get to 6 is one of the reasons why Shanks is such a strong deck, right? Kind of the resurgence of red decks within this format. And so now add 5 with those gold Crocodile Dawn. They do look really good, I will say, although Crocodile doesn't really match Shanks. Goes ahead and swings 5, gets that Kaku out of hand. The Rob Lucci player grabbing Sabo, Ice Age, and the Rob Lucci on it, and plays down the Ace, but passes the turn. So really, if you're wondering why, because this Ace, first of all, does not get rush, right? You only get the rush, I believe, if you're a Whitebeard Pirates character. It's going to be good to play down on curve, because now if your opponent wants to knock it out, they're going to have to use popping effects on it twice. And the more popping effects that they focus on this 6,000 power Ace, the better it's going to bode well for you in being able to keep your bigger bodies alive as we get through later in the game. Because the rush effect is only for Whitebeard Pirate leaders, but that once per turn protection is something that is always on that Ace character. And so is going in through the 6 Dawn turn. Could do something really interesting on playing the Ice Age right here. This is a nice play. You'd be able to -5 the ace, and with the swing from the Brook, attempt to pop a 0-cost character is going to use that protection effect on that ace to be able to survive. But the Rob Lucci, right? Rob Lucci in the Rob Lucci's hand is going to be able to guarantee to KO that character because it is a once per turn. So taking that swing, getting that Rob Lucci down is going to go ahead, put 4 cards back, and you've got 4 of them through leader effects that you did, or I'm sorry, not 4 of them, 3 of them. I don't know why I said 4. Maybe because he's a 4 cost, but 3 cards back into the deck. Very easy at this point in the game. And you're going to go ahead, draw for turn. We see that Rob Lucci as well playing the Kobe. Kobe making a mark in the Smoker deck, now being more prevalent in the Rob Lucci deck. So very nice to see its flexibility. Goes ahead, swings 7 at the Brook. The Brook is going to be a big problem and goes ahead, plays that Marco. You don't get the popping effect on the field with the Marco, but the Marco also has a longevity factor alongside of it, right? That OP03 card that has been around and prevalent in a couple decks like Whitebeard for so long. Being able to trash an event card from your hand if that character were to be KO'd, and you can play that card back on the field rested. Could be nice, especially if they're playing a bigger build of event cards, right? Like multiple guard points, radical beams, and red hawks. We already see that one red hawk in hand. So we'll be able to protect with no Dawn open. We'll be able to protect that Marco if it does get KO'd on the field. Very interesting to see the Shanks deck's focused around those protection cards. So does take that life, does find a little bit of counter now, thank goodness. And with that leader effect, goes ahead, swings 7, just continuously goes ahead with that magic number. Do they have to take this? No, they can use that leader effect, put the Rob Lucci back down to 6, and that lime juice is going to get them out of it. Gotta remember that leader effect. That leader effect, so good, being able to fix so much math, right? We just saw instead of 2 7K swings that the Rob Lucci had to go down to a 7-6 swing, which the Shanks was able to get out of. So playing down this Sabo, gonna have to pitch 2 cards after drawing 2, finds 2 Tempest Kicks, gonna be really nice and really values those Tempest Kicks once the big bodies start coming in right now on this turn. I believe the 9 Dawn turn, you could have anything from the 5-drop ace. I keep getting ace and Shanks mixed up, my apologies. The 5-drop ace and the 9-drop Shanks, one of those old cards. Usually they don't play the 9-drop angst, right? Usually they just skip to 10, but is going to attach 1 Dawn. Go ahead, swing 7,000 power with this Marco, is going to take that life, and I'd imagine with the rest of this 8, play the Monkey Day Dragon. The Dragon, because of the Sabo protection effect, you don't really want to play the Silver's Rayleigh at this point, but with the Dragon, you're at least going to be able to swing another 7 within the leader and then go in with 9 on Dragon. So going to be interesting to see how the Rob Lucci reacts to this. Doesn't have a ton of counter in hand, right? Just has 1 Rebecca within this. So the rushing route of the Dragon may always be the correct play, right? That 10-drop Shanks that you see in that hand, always going to be a factor as well. So going ahead now, swinging 9. We'll see when they decide to block with the Sabo at this point. I would think that you would want to block with the Sabo probably at that point, unless you plan on playing another one. Does have another one in hand now. So what I was saying is if you would want to get another one, right, if you wanted to block right there, if you didn't have one in hand, is because if a Silver's Rayleigh comes in the next turn, Silver's Rayleigh is allowed to pop a Sabo that is not in a protection effect because being a 6,000 power character, you'll go down to 3 and then you can pop a 3,000 or less character with that Silver's Rayleigh. So really good counter if a Sabo stays on the field and it doesn't recur a lot of times, right? Rob Lucci, in comparison to something like Black Yellow Luffy, can't cycle the Sabos as frequently in the match. So going to be interesting now what they do. The difference now, and what's really interesting about not blocking with the Sabo at this point, is now you have a choice, right? The big bodies are starting to come on the field for the Shanks. You either play the 8-drop Gecko or the 9-drop Kaido or something, a big body of your own, or what you do is you go ahead and play Sabo, right? You can't do both within the same turn. There's too much Dawn that you would have to invest 13 Dawn in total, but goes ahead, swings at Rob Lucci leader. The Shanks uses their leader effect to put it at 4,000 to just negate the attack in general. And then the 6,000 power Rob Lucci goes in for a swing. Shanks looking really healthy in this one. What looked to be really scary, they've really stabilized, right? The cards that they found either on life or on the draw have been useful cards, right? 2Ks, that Red Hawk event, right? Good cards in this game. And Rob Lucci deciding to get aggressive, swing with that, or I'm sorry, that Sabo, that blockers Sabo. We usually don't see the blockers swing a lot of times, but in this one we do. And so is going to go ahead, use the Tempest Kicks to go in and draw, maybe pointing it at that dragon and using this other Tempest Kick, going to go ahead, try to take a knockout on this dragon. So that's -7 in general with the leader effect, is a 1 cost overall. Might go ahead, play Gecko and go in with Rebecca and Brooke, right? That would be able to take out that dragon to minimize the amount of swings in this next turn. But I don't think you have a Rebecca in trash now that I look at the trash, get a good look at it. You really only have like Rob Lucci at this point, and the Rob Lucci would be able to get off of the Gecko, but instead decides to go in and grab Kobe off of the Rebecca. So does not play a big body, instead decides to go a little bit wider, is going to go ahead, use that Brook, put the Brook down to KO that dragon. Now information's gained a little bit that you have that Kobe, but is going to play the rest of the 4 Dawn, just get another Rebecca, and we'll see what they grab. Looks like grabbing another Brook and playing down nothing. No 2Ks in the trash that you're able to get, right? Because Rebecca only able to grab a 3 to 5 characters. So since you have no Khalifas in trash, you can't grab Suru, right? That's the wrong 2K. So you love seeing that if you're the Shanks player. We'll see what they decide to play on this turn, if they want to play the Silver's Rayleigh or go in with that 10-drop Shanks. The 10-drop Shanks would be super aggressive, but goes ahead instead to that Rayleigh, is going to -3,000 power something, -2,000 power another thing, which they're opting for the Sabo and the Lucci, and then go ahead and KO a 3,000 power or less character. Interesting that you chose no Rebeccas, right? Didn't opt to KO Rebeccas. You only have 2 swings within this match, but I think with the Red Hawk in their hand, maybe leaving the Dawn up for the Red Hawks, right, to be able to KO one of the Rebeccas. Red Hawk does KO a 4,000 power character or less, so you can either use the Brook or Rebecca within that counter, and there's not really anything that your opponent's going to be able to do about it. They might be able to do something if they attach all of their Dawn, right, in boosting up the power, but is instead of potentially Red Hawk, after having the Radical Beam in hand, is just going to attach 1, swing 6, and so is going to prompt that block. I don't know which way that was going, but is just going to go ahead and pass the turn. Interesting choice to do that, in my opinion. And so moving along within the turn here, what does the Lucci player do? Is this where you go in and play the big stuff like Gecko, right? You now have the ability to cycle Rebecca, Who's Who, a 2K, right, from life. You do have another Brook in there, so Is there, I don't think there's a way that you can take a KO on the Silver's Rayleigh with playing Gecko. What are they talking about right now? Oh, the Rob Lucci. Oh, very interesting. So one of the things that you do need to remember, especially when playing against a Silver's Rayleigh, is the Silver's Rayleigh does the -3000 and -2000. Those power minuses last until the user's next turn. So it goes completely through this turn. So this Rob Lucci is actually sitting at a 4000 power character. So I think announced their swing with the Rob Lucci and the judge got him. The judge came in and was like, hey, you announced it. That character is rested. You don't get to restand this character. So definitely a mistake on this Rob Lucci and definitely a mental error, right? That's one of the reasons why I love using TC Evolution's tokens. If you want tokens to help track your gameplay, and they got power minus, cost minus, ability markers, very helpful in situations like this. And I have a code, it's in the link in the description below. I thought that was a really good time to talk about it. But anyways, enough of the fun stuff, enough with the shenanigans. Back to this game. Definitely didn't want to swing that Rob Lucci if you didn't have to, right? Leave it active as a potential character, because now you're almost guaranteed that this Shanks is going to be able to knock it out or swing at it potentially in some form or fashion. So goes ahead, attaches to swing 7, does that -1 effect, gets an Ice Age and a Rob Lucci in the trash. And so is going to go ahead, use that minus, and then go ahead, after they were swinging at the Marco, uses that leader effect to put the Rob Lucci to 6000, and then uses the 1 cost or 1000 counter Rayleigh to be able to counter out of it. And so getting down that, swinging that Brook, minusing 1, and then using the Kobe is going to go ahead and take that KO on the Marco with the Red Hawk that they've been sitting on in hand, is going to be able to keep that alive. And so with the rest of the Dawn, does play Sabo, just a protection effect. You love seeing that, these big characters coming down. Finds a Hina and Rebecca. So playing the Hina, something that we've started to see again in these black decks, is usually like a 1 or a 2 of, I think, in Rob Lucci deck lists that I've seen. And so now we move on to the Shanks turn. Now is definitely the time to go in and play the 10-drop Shanks, right? What's that card at the very end? It looks like another Silver's Rayleigh. So I'm definitely in the camp of the Shanks. The Shanks is a great card with rush as well. That's another big thing. Has that rush and minuses 1000 across the whole board, right? So going to be really hard to counter out with the Sabo if you decide to block and keep that guy alive. So we'll see exactly what this player decides to do within their turn on the Dawn. May want to leave one up with the Radical Beam, right? The Radical Beam could be really nice in helping you survive on the defense if you don't get past within this turn. But is going to go ahead, start out swinging the 8 is going to be a nice one. I do think you don't swing with the leader Shanks until you play the 10 drop down if you decide to go in that route, right? Because that Sabo being 6000 power, you don't want a free block, right? You want to be able to block and KO or block and counter to be able to keep it alive, right? You want it to be worth something. So he's going to go ahead, play that 10 drop Shanks coming in with the Conqueror's Hockey, and goes ahead and swings 5. Remember, with that 10 drop Shanks, does -1000 across the entire field. So now the Rob Lucci sitting at 5000 power, Brooks sitting at 3, the Kobe sitting at 3, and the Sabo sitting at 5 right now. Going to be very nice. Does counter out of that leader swing, is going in with 6 now at this point. We'll see, can counter out with the rest of the cards that they have in their hand, but they would have to go to 0, and could you survive after that? Who knows? Does have 2 1Ks to get out of that swing, and we'll see if they swing with the Shanks right here. There's an argument to not swinging with the Shanks, right? Because the Shanks is going to have that continuous -1000 power, but it's one less card that the Rob Lucci has available to them, right, from the life. You would think that they may try to like pressure for game at this point, or maybe try to block her up. They would really need to answer with multiple blockers on the field to be able to get out of the next turn for the Shanks if they didn't go all in on a play. And so do you go ahead, swing with the Shanks, give them an extra card, an extra opportunity for maybe a blocker Sabo or a Rebecca, right? We've seen, I think, 2 Sabos and 2 Rebeccas in this match. So what are the odds that there's another one? And decides, you know what, go ahead, clear board. I do like this play, clearing board. Get rid of the Rob Lucci. It's kind of the biggest threat at this point and is going to pass off the turn. Does find an Ice Age, but with these big bodies on the field, you're not going to be able to survive in the next turn if you're the Rob Lucci against this Shanks. So you might as well go all in, I feel like. But with that Shanks as well, I forgot to mention it, your Kobe and Brooke are 3,000 power. So just to be able to get to 5, you have to invest 1 more Dawn, even though Shanks doesn't have a blocker on field, right? And it's free swings going in. You have to invest a lot of Dawn in order to get these small little Brooke and Kobe guys to swing in this game. Holy smokes, I forgot about that. Is going to go ahead, use leader effect, go ahead, swing 6, going to -1 that Shanks, and is going to go ahead 2k out of that one. Doesn't use leader effect yet. Is going to go ahead, Ice Age that Shanks, put it down to a 4 cost character, and the 9 drop Kaido, or the Gecko, I'm sorry. I forgot, yeah, not 9 drop Kaido, because they use 1 for the Ice Age and 1 for the Rob Lucci. I just want to see the Kaido come in. Is going to go ahead with the Gecko. I do like this play. It's probably one of your best options to be able to survive. And is going to go in with a Subaru Rebecca. So the Subaru is going to put the Shanks at a 2 cost. And so what do you grab out of here? You grab the Spandine. Sorry, a lot of math. Is going to be able to get that Rob Lucci 2 KO, a 2 drop and a 1 drop. So is going to knock out that 10 drop Shanks, which honestly, I think you're kind of okay with if you're the Shanks right here. He's going to go ahead and use that Spandime effect, the Gecko, Rebecca, Spandine, Lucci combo. Very, very good. A combo that people are getting tired of, I will say. And is going to put 3 cards back within the deck and KO that Shanks, passing the turn back off to the Shanks. So we'll see what they get off of this. A rush card would be very nice, I feel like, if you got it. Doesn't find one, but does find a Marco. Could be a play where you play the Silver's Rayleigh, right? The Silver's Rayleigh would be 8, and then you can use the 1 Dawn somewhere on the Marco leader or the other Rayleigh that you have on the field. You'd be able to pop some blockers and leave 1 up for the Radical Beam, which would be very nice for your defense. Has a considerable amount of counter with that Rad Beam in the Radical Beam, Lime Juice, and Marco. And if that 9 drop Kaido comes down, right, just pitch the Marco. It's just a 1k anyways on the turn. So we'll see exactly what they do after fulfilling this 6,000 power swing. Is going to take it. It's going to be a Gecko. There's no counter in hand at this point. So I believe if you go ahead and play the Rayleigh, but plays the Lime Juice instead, the Lime Juice is going to be a nice play because, and actually way more Dawn efficient, because on play, up to one of your opponent's characters with 4,000 power or less cannot activate blocker for the rest of the turn. Puts it on the Rebecca and swings in for game. I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot about the Lime Juice play. I was head focused on the Rayleigh, but the Lime Juice just so good within this, holding it in hand to be able to utilize on a final play, really countering against stuff like Rebecca, right? Rebecca being a nice 4,000 power less character, being 0 exactly, and also 4,000 power blockers being very prevalent in the format, right? I think a Vasco shot being less than 4,000. We saw Killer in the last tournament on Vonnie being minus 4,000, and Rebecca, definitely a great 2k to have in the deck to finish off the game. Shanks really kind of having control in that one. The Rob Lucci never really finding their 2ks, I feel like. Had maybe 1 or so early in like Khalifa, but really just pitched most of them on the leader effect with the Suru. So very interesting game. Shanks is going to move on within the top 8. Definitely a fun one, but let's look at some deck lists from this event. And so here's a good Rob Lucci list in OP09 if you're looking for one. We don't have Rob Lucci's exact deck list because that's not made public yet. It's just hours after the tournament. But what we do know from this tournament is that Rob Lucci kind of doing a great job in this event. And just a strong deck overall, just continues to be a really good deck, one of the best in the format. You play your 2K package, right, of the Suru, Khalifas, and Who's Who, a great addition within this deck. You've got a couple different events that we saw in that match that are really good in the Tempest Kick and Ice Age, the 16 gun pistol, another great option that I personally really like in Rob Lucci. A great set. Oh, also potentially a Kaku as well, at least in this list. But if you are looking for potential changes to make in the deck, you could take out Kaku and just add another Who's Who in here. Excellent blockers. Some of the best blockers in black within the game in Sabo and Rebecca is kind of the premier deck to use these. And then a great set of kind of popping different characters with the Brook, right? Spandine, Lucci, an excellent combo that we always see here in Rob Lucci decks. And then Kaku making a resurgence as well. Your string of big bodies within Rob Lucci can vary, but Gecko and Jack usually staples that we see within this archetype in Rob Lucci. Kaido has been way more consistent in the Rob Lucci decks. It's definitely been a couple weeks and a little over a month that Kaido has had a mainstay within these Rob Lucci decks. Definitely great being able to trash characters, which is different keywording and effects than KOing characters within the game. And then this person, at least in this deck, playing the 8-cost Sabo, a great card. I love this secret rare, a very good one, but doesn't really have a stay in any deck right now though. So there's another card if you're looking to change up this deck, maybe get it a little bit closer to the list that we saw in this tournament. You might take out another one of these for like a Jack or something of the sort, or maybe another Sabo. I think probably another Sabo, blocker Sabo that is, would be very good because this person only running one and we definitely saw two within that match. So the Kaku changing it to a Who's Who, Sabo changing it to a blocker Sabo, and then maybe like putting away the 16 gun and adding another Jack is probably more so around what the official deck list is. Now here's the official Shanks deck from the tournament. So for anyone who doesn't know, I can't stay up late and record the first round because I work during the day. So I wake up early on Sundays, record this match. It's like 6:30 a.m. at this point. And my friends who stay up all night watching the tournament, they will send me the deck list without context of how they place. They'll send me the deck list of the tournament when they find them, so then I don't get spoiled like on the result and stuff. So this being the official Shanks players deck list, right, very consistent to what we saw in that one, with the choices of Dragon, Marco, right, within this deck, playing guard points now. So I was talking about guard points earlier, is kind of a conversation that I've heard as of late, but going in with the guard points, the Gum Gum Red Hawk being a nice addition, and I think honestly a lot of events within this deck list work so well with Marco, right? Marco being a great 5-cost character that on KO you can bring back if you trash an event from hand, right? If you've got 8 events in your deck, there's a good chance that at least maybe the first time that your opponent tries to KO that Marco, you're going to be able to bring it back and really continue to garner attention within that character. Very, very cool list I see in this one. Ooh, that's that OP06 10-drop Shanks that KOs like a 10,000 power character or less. Very cool card as a one of in this deck. One thing that surprises me within this deck, right, the Shanks deck, is no one-drop Uta. One-drop Uta being a searcher card for red-haired pirates is very interesting because honestly, a lot of the cards that we saw within this deck were not red-haired pirates at all, right? You do run a red-haired pirates package in the Rayleigh, the Ben Beckman, Shanks, Lime Juice, or wait, hold on. Which one is Lime Juice? This one is Lime Juice. This is Raimu Jusu, and this one is Hongo. Sorry, I'm not like, I haven't finished One Piece yet, so like some of the characters that I haven't really like seen full-fledged in action within the series are definitely difficult for me to know sometimes. Yes, Hongo, that's his name. I just looked it up. But a lot of the cards that we saw within this match really be premiered are not Red Hair Pirates cards, right? The Gum Gum Red Hawk, I'm pretty sure, is Straw Hat. Marco and Ace are Whitebeards. The Silver's Rayleigh is a former Roger Pirate. Dragon, Revolutionary Army. So really cool to see a Shanks deck kind of evolve and just focus on these bodies and the longevity. Very, very good counter to black. I feel like playing a high count of this Ace and Marco is so cool, I think, in this deck, and definitely is if you're expecting a lot of black. And we know that there was actually a lot of black in this tournament, right? Rob Lucci, one of the most prevalent decks, right? Definitely had a good high count across the room. But also within this tournament, it was reported that Blackbeard was very high count, probably not a surprise to a lot of people, but also Gecko Moria, right? That OP06 black leader having a big surgence, and we don't see it within this top 16, but a lot of people were playing it to this event. And so especially with a slew of black decks within the room, right, KOing different characters, this was a really good meta call and meta adjustment for this tournament. Such a cool thing to see unfold in these championships. I cannot wait to see the next one, but let's see what the next round is. Let's see. Oh, it's going to be a Doflamingo mirror that I see in here. So that's going to be a really interesting top 8 match. We'll have that round on the channel on, what day is it today? On Monday, that round will be up. So make sure, if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe so then you don't miss out on that match. And also, thank you guys so much. 10,000 subscribers. We hit 10,000 subscribers before the 1-year anniversary on the channel. Just 3 days pretty much. It's so awesome to have your guys' support. Thank you so much again for 10,000 subscribers. We got some cool stuff planned in the future, and I've got some stuff planned for the holidays too when I travel, so then you guys can still get content. And I hope to see you all so soon in these videos. Thank you so much again. My heart is full. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving if you celebrated, and I'll see you within the next episode.